Justin Frenette here, co-founder and CEO of Him and Her and host of the Pre-Con Recon Podcast, where we talk about all things brand and marketing in the pre-construction real estate market. I invite leaders to share their knowledge and strategies for success, empowering our community to thrive now and in the future. This episode is brought to you by Him and Her, a creative agency specializing in exceptional branding for real estate and high-end consumer goods. Over the past 9 years, we've helped shape and launch over $3 billion in pre-construction real estate projects, crafting and executing marketing strategies that deliver extraordinary results. From rentals to sales and from townhomes to master plan communities, we unlock the full value of every project through strategy, brand, storytelling, and experience, all powered by data. If you're launching a pre-construction project and want to learn more, reach out to us at himandher.ca. My guest today is Tim Ng. Tim is the founder and CEO of Blackline and AdHoc Studios, with over 17 years of experience in the real estate industry. As a trailblazer and leader, he has pioneered industry-leading digital solutions that merge real estate, art, and technology to transform the sales experience and enhance the buyer journey. Blackline is the leading sales and marketing platform for new developments, commanding a 75% market share in Toronto. Each year, Blackline onboards over 20,000 residential units across Toronto, Vancouver, and Miami. AdHoc Studio, one of the longest standing and largest Canadian-owned visualization studios. They've helped shape some of the most high-profile, ultra-luxury, and master plan communities. Their work has earned them Best Rendering at the Build Awards for 7 years in a row. Tim, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Justin. Longtime follower.
All right.
Excited to get started.
Same me for you. Before we dive in, though, I always like to ask my guests what it is that you love about what you do.
What I love about what I do, primarily it's moving the needle, pushing the envelope with technology. As you know, like real estate, compared to every other industry, whether it's in automotive or your consumer packaged good industry, it's about 30 years behind, and it seems to be always 30 years behind. So yeah, I've been after that that goal of really pushing real estate forward with technology.
It's amazing, and you could definitely see it if anybody's been following you for even a little bit of time. Now, I'd love to get into the origin story. How did your career start in real estate, in particular in the rendering business? And was it by chance, or did you always know real estate was what you wanted to do?
Yeah, I grew up in real estate. Like my parents were in real estate from being on the developer side with my mom, and then my dad, he was involved with the brokerage side of things with selling pre-construction condos. So grew up in the business, was always, a topic of discussion every day at the dining table. If I tried to ignore it, I wouldn't even be able to, honestly. And I saw like some of the vendors, like my dad was even working through with some of the rendering companies, some of the tools that he was using back in the day. And at a very young age, at the age of 5, like believe it or not, I always had this goal and imagination of like merging technology and real estate together. I always knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur in my own business. It was just like instilled in my entire life. And yeah, I knew that there was always something with technology and real estate and those two things merging together.
That's amazing. And it's honestly, I'd say not the norm. Most guests have accidentally fallen into real estate. So it's fresh to see somebody who knew it. And that entrepreneurial bug, it's funny, parents have such a big influence. My dad owned his own IT company, and that's what gave me the entrepreneurial bug. Now, careers don't always go in a straight path up and to the right. So was there any detours or failures that became your unfair advantage that really gave you an edge against your competitors?
Yeah, there wasn't any type of big detour or anything like that, because like fresh out of university, I remember graduating like just before summer in 2008, and then I had a couple months to kind of jump into it and plan like opening up AdHoc Studio a couple months after. So I didn't have a big detour, but throughout my whole my time in high school and university, I was very fortunate to have some really big mentors working in a lot of co-ops and internships. Like my high school offered a big co-op program already starting from grade 10. So I actually co-opted and interned for one of the top investment bankers in Toronto. And then getting into the commercial insurance side of things in university, actually, like pretty much working part-time while I was doing university. And I was also, yeah, very involved with more of like the finance side of things as well, like with investment banking and insurance. So I'd say that is really my unfair advantage because of my business background. So I dabbled in tech, was always involved in tech, but also I was also doing a lot of things in the finance industry as well that, that really helped me get a deep understanding of numbers, meeting with clients, presenting to clients, client services, all of that stuff. Yeah. It really helped me for sure.
That makes a lot of sense because ultimately, you can get caught up in making pretty visuals, even, us on the creative side. But the reality is what we do needs to drive ROI. It needs to drive success in the numbers. And so
Yeah. Yeah.
that's amazing that you had that background and have that insight. Now, in your day to day running ad hoc on the ground in sales centers, talking to your clients, having grown up in it, which is amazing. That's an advantage in itself. What did you see that people were missing that pushed you to create Blackline?
Yeah. I think, like we were the first in 2009, we were the first company to start building um, interactive software specifically for sales galleries. And year in, year out, we were, doing over 150, involved with 150 presentation centers. And we just saw a lot of, over the years, a lot of disconnect, a lot of inefficiencies with managing like inventory and, documents being all manually processed. Developers and sales teams like double selling like parking, for example. So, they had only one parking spot, but they sold it somehow to like two buyers. So there was a lot of this type of stuff that, with the manual process does cause a lot of human errors, a lot of, inefficiencies. And yeah, on more of the sales operations side, we saw an opportunity where we can really, from every single task from the sales team or developer, we'd be able to essentially like digitize it. So that's really what pushed us to build out Blackline as a real sales operational tool. But then also like to equip buyers and brokers more on like the front end side of Blackline with our broker portals, to give them like a very clean, user friendly presentation tool that they can use it as a tool to present to their clients, to learn about the project and bring transparency into the project. And so those are mainly the two big items where we've been trying to.
Amazing. Yeah, I'll always remember our first foray into real estate, I think 8 or 9 years ago, realizing that, yeah, there was a guy with a clipboard who owned the inventory and you had to go talk to him. And I'm like, really? This is how this is done?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, some
Now,
projects are still being done that way.
yeah. Not even digital, like just, yeah, bins of paperwork. Because coming from tech, I came from big data at BlackBerry. And I couldn't believe it was all just paper still. Um, Now, running ad hoc on the service side, prop tech, the tech industry, everything's new and exciting and hot. How did you have an advantage actually servicing clients before going into product development that most, right to product development founders would miss?
Yeah. One thing I wanted to share is like it is very hard and a lot of work to transition from a service-based business. And, I've been doing, in a service-based business for over like 12 years before Blackline launched. And then like transitioning that into also like a product company as well, like a product-based SaaS model. That's a huge, it's a huge transition, huge jump as well, because you have to build out onboarding teams, client success teams, and things like that, where, in the service side, you just have primarily like account managers and project managers and things like that. But it taught us a lot. Like, honestly, it taught me a lot, taught my team a lot. We learned like how critical it is to really like craft a narrative that
Mhm.
really like reduces that like uncertainty, building that trust, building out tools that let people like really, where they can really understand and visualize like what the future home or what the future environment that they're buying into. Because as you know, in pre-construction or new development, like everything, everyone is buying from a floor plan, right? So, as a visualization company from the ground up, from day one, we were always obsessed with like constantly innovating to find like the strongest, most versatile visual tools for our clients to, to utilize for sales and marketing.
Yeah. Amazing. Okay, now Blackline, digging in a little further in terms of a pre-construction launch, what does Blackline do? If you were to one, two sentence it, what does it actually do?
Yeah. So, um, what Blackline is, it's a sales engine for your entire sales and marketing process. We really pride ourselves being completely like vertically integrated. So day one of your launch, when the developer and the sales and marketing team launches, from taking in worksheets, reservations, purchase requests, all the way to allocations, writing contracts, managing the inventory, making sure the developer is optimizing their revenue and selling, at the most optimal pricing that they can, managing discounts, incentives, overall broker engagement, and then finally like closing the deal. So we handle like the entire process at a very high level. And that was always the vision. Like we really broke it down into like, okay, where are all the moving parts? Where are all the little individual pieces that every single person that's involved with the transaction, like what do they have to do? Like we're gonna really pinpoint every single thing and try to digitize it. So yeah, we're really a sales engine to ensure that developers are selling more efficiently and selling faster.
Okay, amazing. Well, that was what I was going to ask next is what's the biggest impact the platforms had on your customers? Like, according to them, is there a testimonial or something that stood out in terms of somebody saying, Tim Blackline did X for us?
Yeah, I think with the broker side of things, more like the outside brokers are cooperating on these deals. Like we equip them um, with a very clean, user-friendly presentation tool on the front end side of things. So that, if they click on a floor plan, they know exactly the information, where exactly this floor plan and this unit is located, what exactly their view is. So we gave them a tool to be able to make like very professional presentations really easily, where there wasn't any tool like that existed. And then on more like the developer and sales and marketing side, I say the biggest impact is like we allow them to make sure that, they're optimizing their sales. They're, ensuring that they're not leaving any money on the table at any single point. And making sure that, they're, selling at the absorptions and the velocity that they want, and making sure that there's no friction in the sales process, giving the buyer a very clean user experiences.
Yep. Amazing. And now, is that just for sales, or is Blackline working in purpose-built rental and lease-up scenarios too?
Yeah, we do both. So we do a lot of condo, obviously, as you know. But for the last 7, 8 years, before even purpose-built rental or multifamily was even really a thing, like we were actually already doing purpose-built rental for all the big multifamily guys, like the Quad Reals, Fitzrovias, King Set. We've been working with them for over like 8+ years already. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay. Now let's get into some market insights. Between running a service studio AdHoc and a product studio Blackline, what's the biggest 2025 shift in buyer behavior that maybe isn't obvious from all the standard headlines? What do you see on the ground talking to your clients that has shifted the most in buyer?
Yeah. Well, for sure, we all know like the condo market, has slowed down, especially in 2025. I think things are more purposeful and more deliberate now. Really gone are the days of that whole like speculative buying where, units are really trading like a stock.
Yeah.
Um, Instead, the market has really like, in my opinion, like really returned to fundamentals where, you're really focused on people buying into a home that they're actually going to live in,
Yeah.
and they're not just looking to like flip it for a profit. So for today's buyers, it's really focused on like livable spaces, well designed buildings, with people that are actually going to live in these buildings. And you're seeing with these buyers these days, like they're making more informed decisions on like the builder reputation. I think the builder reputation is like a big one, right?
Yeah.
Making sure that you can actually go and visit some of their buildings, potentially walk through some of their past buildings and things like that. Location is obviously important, and then the big lifestyle component around that project as well. And then also you need to, I think, make the entire project very personable, because at the end of the day, like with these type of buyers these days, it is a very emotional decision that they're
Yeah.
making.
Yeah. For many, it'll be the biggest purchase they'll make in their lives.
Exactly. And then also like a lot of the different presentations that developers or the sales and marketing brokers are making, like I would say a lot of it has to be centered around like the guidance and the advice of buying into the project, and the advice of like what does the process look like, as opposed to just in the hot market back in the day, it was all about like, okay, here's the transaction, here's the ROI,
Yeah. Yeah. Sign here, get
sign
out of
here.
here.
Yeah.
Now, because your platform also deals with like incentives and discounts and things like that, what marketing or sales playbook do you see as dead and what's replaced it that's working? Some clients are going to, 24 monthly deposits. What kind of levers do you see people pulling that's working in today's market?
Yeah, I think it's primarily like the mindset and the market shift to everything you're planning around in terms of strategy is around like the long-term buyer or the long-term investor. So like I said earlier, like, gone are the days where, it's a speculator, really buying it and trading it like a stock, where it's a quick fix, quick flip, and you're getting fast money. It's, you're getting that long-term investor, making sure that they're diversifying their portfolio. So whether you're figuring out an incentive program, you're planning out your unit mix, the overall positioning of your project, all of it has to be geared towards really that either long-term investor or that ultimately like that end user buyer that's actually going to be living in there.
Makes sense. Now, condo versus purpose built rental, what's the real operational difference you see between them when a developer is running? A lot of developers are moving to purpose built rental. What do they maybe not understand about launching a purpose built rental or managing Lisa, where they're more used to condo sales that they should be aware of?
I think it's actually the same. It's just primarily in terms of like the absorptions.
Yeah.
Like obviously with more of the purposeful rental, like you're trying to get that absorption pretty much right before the building is nearing completion. So it's kind of that pre-leasing step. But also what's important is like when you're starting a pre-lease, let's say 6 to 8 months before the building is completed, you got to make sure like the building is finished. All the details are in there. The amenities are completely constructed in detail. Like if, people see that the building is kind of like half done with a lot of like issues and the amenities aren't open and things like that, like that's going to be a huge problem.
Yeah.
Also people really care about like, they're going to ask questions about like, what's the property management like? Who's the property management team that's running it? Um, what are some of the incentives in the program when potential tenants are looking to rent? What's the overall like tenant experience as well? Because compared to like the condo side, a lot of it is like, built on the hype and the fear of missing out, right? Whereas like the purposeful rental side is like it's tangible because that building is going to be like you're going to be moving in there and anywhere from like 6 to 8 months.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Now, again, with the data advantage of Blackline, outside of building type and outside of incentive types, are there any marketing patterns you're seeing? Because on the rendering side, those assets are used in so many different ways, in campaigns to sales center presentations, your Blackline presentation software. What are the tactics or patterns you're seeing? I think you hinted at some of it, more in-depth presentations about the flow. What's actually moving? Like when you look at projects that are stuck and ones that are actually selling, what's the main difference?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, developer reputation, credibility, and trust. You see, there's a lot of developers right now that are underwater and all of that stuff. And, in the hot market, there was a lot of more kind of first time developers entering into the market. So I think developers, with that long history track record, like they should continue to leverage that. I always tell a lot of my developer clients, it's like, try to be more front facing, do more videos where, interview style videos where, they're actually like interviewing and interviewing the main people behind the development brand, interviewing the architect, the interior designers, so that, people can really understand the personalities behind the brand, and also just to get to know them on that level as well. And then I would say, in terms of like more on the branding side of developments, it's really tying in the lifestyle components and the lifestyle themes of how people actually like live in these buildings and live in these units. Obviously, you're seeing a huge upward trend with like wellness on projects, community, sustainability, design forward living, all of those things. It's really trying to hammer out these things, making sure that you really have a lifestyle theme around your projects, and it's not about like the PSF. It's not about like selling what's on the floor plan, for example, or the per square feet and things like that. Like I said.
Yeah, and I love that it's come around to that, because the reality is, who cares what the age or demographic is if it's the lifestyle that you're after. It can be a mix of all kinds of people in that building, and that really broadens your opportunity to get the right people in, which is awesome. And I also, love the fact that you're promoting the need to get in behind the scenes on the developers, because humanizing them, I think, is really powerful. I think a lot of developers, when they're just hidden away and you don't get to hear from them or see them, it's easier for the perception to be, it's this big greedy corporate
Yeah,
entity. But
yeah.
it's real people that actually care about what they're building and who's going to live in them, and that's definitely powerful.
It's kind of like the Apple style, I call it, right? Like
Mm,
you see when they launch a new product, like Tim Cook is up there. You see, their product team up there.
yeah,
They can put a face to a name in terms of, the people that are building the product, right? So yeah, that's what I continue to push. Like I have a lot of clients that are like, oh, should I do something like on my Instagram where it's a quick story about me, maybe walking through the community or the unit or a tour and things like that. And I know not everyone's comfortable with the camera, but like to me, it's like you have to do these things these days. Like this is what buyers expect.
totally. Okay, now let's say you're a marketing manager, you're a developer, you're a builder, you've got the right product, you've got the right unit mix, you're in the right location, and you've got some spend. How would you prioritize, in order of importance, branding versus media? So purchasing paid media out of home versus sales enablement tools like Blackline, asset rendering, et cetera. What would be your priority of importance?
Good question. First and foremost, I think the brand first for sure. So again, like what I just said earlier, like leveraging the developer's reputation, really being concise with the overall like design language of the project, um, portraying that authenticity as well, from the project side and then also from the developer side, or anybody within the team, whether it's the architect, the interior designer, having that authenticity about like the people designing the projects, and then positioning around, again, like lifestyle and place as well. So first and foremost, definitely, like I said, brand. Second thing I would say is like sales tools and process. So equipping everyone with, powerful digital tools, to provide a very user-friendly and transparent environment, in terms of availability, inventory, pricing, being able to share assets really easily within the project. And then tying in with that would be, ultimately the sales platform as well, making sure there's no friction when you're doing a deal or doing a transaction, making sure that, those worksheets or those expression of interest or reservations when the time comes to convert it into a deal, that it is a very smooth, user-friendly process for the buyer and also the broker that's co-oping on the deal as well.
Totally.
And
You
then
spend
and
you spend all that money and you finally get somebody in for a leasing appointment or tour or to sign a deal, and you take days to get back to them, or you sell them a double unit or a double parking spot. Like, that hurts your brand deeper than you know, and especially in this market you can't have those mistakes because they'll go to somebody else that's going to serve them better, easier.
yeah, like it's still like I still have these conversations like to this day, and it's frustrating for me. I still have developers tell me like, well, it's okay. Like, it'll take me 45 minutes to write up a contract and send it out to the buyer. Like, when in this world, in this day and age, when you're buying something, it's going to take 45 minutes. Like, but they're like, in this market, it's okay. Like, we're only selling a couple units a month or whatever it is. Like, we don't need the speed, but like
Yeah.
45 minutes is crazy. Like, there's nothing in your life where you're buying anything these days, like whether it's in person or online, that takes 45 minutes, right? So
Yep. Now, what about, you're in the US, you're in Canada, Miami, there's some really big projects going on down there, a lot of like brand tied projects. What's the biggest win or maybe mistake on the branding front that you've seen that's either killed a project or driven massive success for a project?
yeah, I think it's and Justin, you know this already. It's, kind of marketing or selling the building as like a very cookie cutter like commodity. Too many projects kind of lead with that cliche stuff as like, marketing as like, oh, luxury finish is this, or this is, the best location, or the
Yeah.
price per square feet. A lot of, and then even utilizing like leveraging like very generic like renderings and visualizations that don't really, have a lot of soul and emotion to it. Those projects end up being very like interchangeable. Like, you could literally slap on that brand and that positioning to like any project. So those projects really just, don't stand out, right, for anything
Yeah.
unique, right? And I
Especially
mean,
chipping out on the rendering. It's
yeah,
always such a prioritized budget. If you're going to cut anywhere, do not cut from rendering because you're selling something that doesn't exist yet and it needs to look the best it can look.
yeah, it's like more oftentimes it's like the most front facing thing. It's like potentially even more front facing than the project logo, right?
Yeah.
So why cheap out on that? And even just the naming of projects, like I've always been very critical in Toronto. Like, it's just some of the, I'm not going to say who, but some of the names that like they come up with for these projects.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yes. Yeah. We work in that world. So the naming, there's battles to be fought, to be won and lost. And some unique ones. We had one developer where he loved the swan that was in the local park, and so the project had to be named by the swan, and there was no negotiation. And so, we ran with it. At least that's got a story and some character, and better than some situations. Now, USA, Canada. Why Miami? Why did you go into the US, and why did you pick Miami as your beachhead? And if I'm wrong about that, correct me. But what signal told you that was the right decision?
yeah. No, you're definitely like 100% like bang on that. Um, we chose Miami as really the launch pad to grow in the US and to enter into the US. Couple reasons. Before we even entered into the Miami market, a lot of people don't know this, but I actually spent 8 months like traveling back and forth, really understanding the market in depth, like
Okay.
understanding what the market is, like what our market fit is. I spent days, like full days in sales galleries,
Okay.
just sitting there, just understanding like how sales teams would work, how they would present, what their contract administrators were doing on a daily basis. Like before I even started to meet with developers, I really wanted a deep understanding of how things work there. So I spent a lot of time there, like educating myself. I'm always learning, and yeah, and truthfully, like the market in Miami, like in terms of their entire sales process, it's almost identical to Toronto actually. So heavily involved with like broker engagement, absorptions, velocities, are very similar.
And are they're
How
pre-construction, right? Unlike New York, where they build first and then sell.
Yeah, exactly. Fully pre-construction like Toronto or Vancouver. So the processes are very similar to the markets we're in, primarily in Canada and Toronto and Vancouver. Every single thing from taking in kind of like that expression of interest, reservation, converting into contract, how they work with third-party sales and marketing teams, almost identical, I would say.
Amazing. Well, that's smart. That's one less barrier to entry you need to overcome.
Yeah. And then also like when I was like spending time in Miami, like before we officially launched, like I was reading a lot about Miami and the market, and there was a lot of like long-term like demand drivers that were really, kind of cementing themselves. There's a heavily amount of like sustained migration from other states like
Mm,
California and New Yorkers. There's a huge influx of like wealth coming into the Miami market.
yep.
There's a huge diverse like international demand as well. It's kind of like the gateway into the US for a lot of international buyers. And then the overall city was really like branding themselves and positioning themselves as really like a big tech hub and a financial hub as well.
Mm.
You saw a lot of the big headquarters go and set up headquarters in Miami, like Apple, Citadel, and all those. A lot of big.
Yeah, all the right signals were there. Okay. I, that makes a lot of sense. I love that you spent that much time researching before you jumped in.
Yeah, like I'm really yeah, like I really like to map out everything, like being very purposeful and yeah, making very like sound decisions. That's something, yeah, I'm sure I always do.
And I can tell you've got the bug of, because not all agencies or founders have it, but that bug of, questioning the status quo. Could it be done better? Could it be innovated versus some people are fine with, here's how we do it. Now run it till we die. Because if you don't innovate or evolve, and it's only going to get worse, like technology's changing like faster than people realize, you're going to die if you don't have that mindset.
Yeah, like probably like the hardest thing like entering into Miami and into the US was just like you're starting from ground zero, right? Like nobody
Mm,
knows you. You have no credibility. You can mention like the stuff you did in, Toronto or Vancouver, but they have no reference to that. They don't know what project that is. They've
yeah.
never visited that project. Going to events like, from when I go to an event in Toronto and Vancouver, I know pretty much everyone at that event, and then going to an event in the US, it's like I don't know anybody, right?
Yeah.
Starting off. So that
Yeah.
was yeah, that definitely takes a hit. Yeah,
In a couple
to your
places.
ego. Yeah.
Yeah, because the real question is, who cares about AdHoc? Who cares about Blackline? It's the same thing as we go to Ender. Who cares about him and her? If you don't have a unique specialty or niche or offering or like thought leadership component, there's one of you in their market, probably. And just the size of the US, right? Each state is bigger than Canada. Like Texas is bigger than Canada. Now,
Yeah.
what's one thing that broke or is a bigger challenge than you expected entering the US market? Is, contracting challenges, it seems like you solved a lot of it by finding a market that's almost identical, but was there any other challenges you found? Was it personalities, mindsets, hesitation on using a Canadian company? What other challenges did you face?
I would say just the localization of Blackline, whether it's terminology.
Mm,
There's like little nuances with like disclosure documents, contract documents. There are like these little nuances that you need to make sure that you build a robust enough product that you can customize for these different locales.
mm,
So that was something that, yeah, we definitely spent a lot of time making sure that we were ready to scale up into the US. And even in Vancouver, like we went from Toronto to Vancouver, even just like a time zone difference, right?
right.
Like even just to like set up that locale for that time change when rescission periods and when contracts get sent out, like all of that, like
Yeah.
we working in a different time zone. So as you start to like move into different markets, like you get your bearings and you kind of can really foresee where the hurdles are. So those are the locales. But I think one thing that to answer your question on the first part, like what travels like really cleanly from Toronto to Miami is really the broker engagement and how like broker focused and driven they are. Very similar to Toronto.
Okay. Now, future looking, what do you think is the next big technology advantage? AI scoring, agent tooling, pre-qualification. Where do you think is the big technology advantage developers on either side, for sale, for rent, that people should be paying attention to or keeping an eye out for?
Yeah, 100%. It's going to be AI. I think. I mean, everyone is focused on AI in terms of the changes every day and the innovations every day. But I do think in real estate, like it's really going to go beyond like that whole efficiency around AI. People, when they think of AI, they think of efficiency. I think it's going to be a lot of it is going to be all predictive, like predictive behaviors,
Yeah.
different micro trends within neighborhoods or submarkets, buyer demographics, and then also like predicting like different like lifestyle outcomes as well throughout a project or when you're planning a project. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. And then if there was one habit that the teams you work with at your clients just can't get away from that you wish they would break or stop doing or think differently about, what is that one thing?
I would say whether it's sales teams or developers, like we all kind of need to approach the entire sales and marketing process with more of like a consultative approach. Sales teams need to do more listening to buyers in terms of what they actually want, because I really feel like moving forward, uh, personalization is really the new luxury, and that's really here to stay. And yeah, we need to really start listening to what buyers want, what they're looking for, how they actually live in these buildings and projects, as opposed to being order takers and doing it the way we were doing it before.
Totally. Okay, Tim. Well, I've got one last question for you. You and your team, you've met, from what I can see on your LinkedIn, some of the $1 million listing characters, Frederick, Mauricio. In real life, are they the same as people maybe know them or see them on the shows?
They are very, very personable, very approachable. Surprisingly, at first you get a little bit starstruck because obviously, you know, they're who they are. But once you get working with them, um, they're just brokers and salespeople. No different than the salespeople I've worked with. They're still after the same thing, making sure that they can, sell their projects, successfully sell their project, create efficiencies. Yeah, they're just people at the end of the day, and they're very approachable.
Amazing. Okay, well, we've been talking to Tim Ing. Tim, for people who want to learn more about you or get in touch with you about either of your companies, AdHoc or Blackline, where can we send them?
You can hit me up on LinkedIn. We're also I'm very active on Instagram as well. Yeah, look us up on Instagram. We post very frequently.
Good job. Now, Tim, I appreciate you joining me on the Pre-Con Recon podcast, brought to you by him and her.